comes to green transitions, putting up a windmill and everything that comes with it. So that's also construction related, but also agriculture, for instance. And you could think, well, agriculture is typical, low waged, low skilled. But if I look at the Netherlands, for instance, we are quite a high tech agri sector. That although there's a lot of automation going on, so interest in looking at nearshoring, a collaboration in more high-tech agri, and IT skills. Skills are across the EU always in demand. So I think this is a sector also because it's not so much based on formal qualifications, but more of certifications, and you can build a skills passport with IT skills. So in that sense, the IT sector is easiest to translate skills developed elsewhere into the skills demand in the context.
Thank you, Professor Tess. Yeah, so now let me come. I like the fact that you especially mentioned IT skills. Actually, being in that space and you guys working around building the programs, the engineers from Nigeria, I would like you to share more about the opportunities you've seen while you design what you're doing at Semicolon, how you're meeting that market, especially from outside, and also beyond that, being the melting point between innovation, digital innovation, trade with NATEP, and also the association. Is there a demand there? Are there opportunities there? So based on the opportunities, how are you getting Nigerians ready for these opportunities outside?
Thanks a lot, and pleasure to be here. Good to see some old friends and some new people. It's really been lovely to hear the remarks so far. So yes, Joba, great question. And Semicolon, really the reason that my husband and I moved back to Nigeria to start Semicolon was that we saw this persistent gap. So companies in Nigeria, from early stage and growth stage startups to larger corporates, were saying that their primary challenge, their constraint to growth, was a lack of talent, particularly tech talent. But we had also operated in other markets, and we saw that same gap globally as well, which is something we could still continue to hear. So it really just seemed kind of a no-brainer that we have an opportunity to turn that kind of raw potential human capital in Nigeria, in Africa, into that global workforce. We know by 2040, 50% of the global working age population is going to be African. So we already see those demographic trends, and we might as well start preparing for that, right? So as Semicolon, one of the first things that we did was start to build that robust talent pool. We started a techpreneurship program, training highly employable software engineers with a very strong, and that has always been industry-led. So a very strong focus on what does somebody need to be employable in an entry-level role, but also what foundation do they need to grow? Because the gaps that we see globally are particularly for more senior, advanced, sophisticated roles and skill sets. And we'll see probably that trend continue to evolve as technology evolves, right? So we started doing that, but we also provide technology services, including outsourcing to clients around the world. And as Joba mentioned, are working a lot with the ecosystem by helping to set up an industry association, working with government partners, including NATEP, who reach out to us and ask us to participate in working groups, et cetera, because establishing that sector just requires coordination, I think, inherently. So what we've learned in this journey so far is that it is absolutely possible to build the human capital that the world requires out of the Nigerian talent pool. We've learned that it is absolutely possible to help companies in the world access the skills and the talent that they need. through the outsourcing relationships and partnerships. But also, and we still continue to get feedback, partners globally, a lot in Europe, actually. Recently, I've seemed to be meeting a lot of delegations, Netherlands, Germany, UK, etc., but other parts of the world as well. Even India, the population, the fertility rate is below 2.1, which is the replacement, right? So we will see global populations begin to shrink even in historically populous countries. So we do still hear um, a lot of need to build these talent bridges. And I think what we see strongly are the needs to both work collectively and probably continue to experiment and innovate about the best ways to do this. So all stakeholders seem to agree this is needed, and we've proven it's possible. But I think the work needs to be done on the how do we work together to make it happen.
Thank, thank you so much. I was looking for how to unmute myself. Maybe
I can see you trying to press your
I need
device.
I need 360 training. So tell me, let me come to you. There's this assumption that we have, and thanks so much, Ashley. There's this assumption like, oh yeah, we're building the next best set of people. But from your own point of view, running a company that actually, matches this talent to global countries or companies in the world. I remember we had Google together during the president's visit to the UK. From working with these kind of big brands, do we have talents that are globally competitive? I really wanted to speak to that. How do we position ourselves? Do we think we're good enough so that when in design we know this feedback is good for three entities, good for actually in how we design our curriculum and programs?
Okay, thank you so much for having me on the panel, and it's been brilliant listening to everything Professor Francis and Ashley had to say. So I'm Tommy Edwards, CEO of People XYZ. So basically, what we are is an AI-first infrastructure, basically unifying recruitment, compliance, onboarding, people intelligence, and supply chain intelligence for the modern workforce. It's quite a lot, but those are the elements you need to be able to get the modern workforce to start working. And to your question, I'll put it, I think for us, the way we actually started is very similar to a lot of things that have been said on the panel. We actually thought that the gap was the talent itself. But as you start to move on and as you start to see that is having a moment, Africa is having a moment. And the moment is the world has to realize there are a lot of technically skilled, people within Nigeria, within and but then there's still some things that are missing. The world is also still having a moment right now with AI because I'm very shocked that AI hasn't come into this conversation so far. And it's high time we put it in there. The world is currently having moments with AI, and Africa has its own moment as well. So what are we saying? We could train people, we could have the conversations around, yeah, skilling people, but then what happens skill when Claude can basically interpret your skill in a matter of, minutes? And also what happens to, how do people really want to understand the type of workforce that they have? So this is the feedback that we've been getting, and this is what we have experienced so far. One, the world actually do not just need skills anymore. They need skills and people that have the ability to learn very fast because your skills can become irrelevant so quickly. So can you adapt very, very quickly to, AI, to the different things that are happening because they are moving at a great speed than we could ever imagine. Two, companies that are coming to us right now and hiring and the trends that we're seeing is more about AI proficiency. So yes, you're good in this, but do you also understand how to? So I'm hiring Tommy, but Tommy is coming as a superpower because she's coming with agents or understanding of how to do these things that could actually accelerate my organization fivefold. So it's not I could code. Okay, right now, do I really need that? It's so those conversations are beginning to shift, and it's time for Africa. Yes, we are upskilling people, but we also now have a moment to leapfrog. And it's not just, catch up. You have a moment to leapfrog because what you have youth advantage, you have when the people that have the knowledge to be able to act and do things. Africa is on that map. A lot of people are self-taught. A lot of people know how to pull things together, but now to bring it into it. But then there is the human skills that we need to talk about. So training people on technical skills is one thing. Then human skills is a completely different thing. You could be a great developer, a great product designer. You can't come to meetings on time, turn on your camera, be able to be reliable when I'm having conversations with you, understand the etiquette of doing business. No one wants to work with you. There is also the infrastructure problem that, yes, I have people that will tell me, because I have workers in Nigeria as well, and they'll tell me, oh, yeah, I'm on MTN, I'm on Airtel, this is working, that is not working. And, I can't come to meetings because of there was something going viral yesterday on X about a lady that got a contract abroad. But then due to the lack of infrastructure, she lost it. And these are the world at the moment is designed for people like that. I think she's an amputee. She'll never have been able to get to a local job and go in there, but she got a global job because what? She's skilled and she has all of these opportunities, but then that got taken away from her because of infrastructure. So the conversation that we've been having is brilliant. Yes, we have to start from somewhere. 3MCT is a fantastic idea. But then training people, and I like what Francis said, it's not just global, it's local. And I think that we can also just be training people to go work global. We also have to train people to be able to work local and have the ability to also be able to be exportable. But where I see the brain drain conversation start to become a brain gain conversation is where you have people that are actually local, are working remotely, but also get, the work itself is coming from maybe somewhere in the UK or somewhere in the Netherlands, and they're actually spending the money right there in the country of Nigeria or wherever they are. That becomes a brain gain. It's no longer like a brain, because the country is benefiting from that. So I think so the conversation, I can see Joba smiling at me. Does that mean I should stop talking? All right. Just the last point. I think the conversation is yes, we're having skills is fantastic. We need to quickly bring AI into it. Having the infrastructure is great. And we need to also understand that it's a combination of all of those, including human skills, that really makes the talent exportable.
Lovely, thank you. And thanks for that. Francis, let me come back to you. And there's something that you mentioned and also alluding to the needs and demand that we have. If Europe has digital needs, and I think Prof. You also mentioned that there's in construction, there are demands with demand within the energy space. And I know people on the call, the whole essence of joining this call to see how do I fit in and what opportunities are available if eventually there are jobs, from this side. Francis, you've spoken about 3MTT. What are the sectors are you having this training and like who benefits from it? So I want to believe it's not only tech sector, but again, at the end of the day, are we sector wide enough so that if there are demands there, for instance, there are technical troubleshooting that can be done from Nigeria, easily we can train and get the people ready so that we're just not training, we're also training, and putting them in jobs.
No, thanks a lot, Joba. And I think Tommy mentioned, and Tommy, thanks for your comments. I think those were extremely spot on, especially from a demand standpoint, but also the human elements as well. I think that for us, we think one of the things that we're currently an approach that we're taking is for far too long, even outside of digital scaling, you think about the Nigerian education system today, a constant challenge which we always complain about is industry academia connection, right? And it's the challenge with the on the digital scaling side is just a replication of that lack of infrastructure that's been built on the academia side as well. And I think that, very often, we often try to, even as private entrepreneurs, many private entrepreneurs go and tackle the problem individually and spend a lot of resources doing that. And I'm sure Ashley would be able to tell you that's often very expensive to do. We think that as an ecosystem, it's important for us to start working on ecosystem-wide initiatives that allows us to all benefit from this. And one of the things that we're working on currently is what we're calling a demand intelligence system. A demand intelligence system that allows us to be able to understand the opportunities that exist locally, but also internationally. So if you think about the layers, you have onshoring in terms of opportunities that exist in Nigeria. You have nearshoring in terms of opportunities that exist on the continent, and then you also have more offshoring opportunities in terms of global markets. We are currently working on designing a system that is going to be done in collaboration with the private sector, starting with the Nigeria Outsourcing Association, which Ashley and her team is working on, but also organizations like NASIMA, which is the leader of the organized private sector in Nigeria, working with the National Skills Council as well to be able to pull in data from more traditional sources as well. And eventually, as we expand the network, also working with our partners, we're very grateful to have the support of the European Union as well on the project now. And so the reality is that we need to be able to build a system that allows us to be able to know where the opportunities exist. And it has to be a system. It can't be a study that is just done and that is put, somewhere, and then maybe another 3 years later, and we come to update it, which is sort of what we've done with the advancement of artificial intelligence in particular. It means that there are now the opportunities for us to be able to build agentic systems that integrate local systems. For instance, as an example, imagine if you had integration of Jobberman to put in all of the data that they're getting from, their database in a nice format in terms of, helping to understand what opportunities look like locally. The different states that are now working on a labor management information system that allows us to understand the opportunities that exist locally as well. But there are also international systems that provide some access to some of this data. LinkedIn, for instance, is one of the partners that we're speaking to in terms of getting access to global data, in terms of opportunities that exist. But the way we look at it, and just to be clear about this, the reality is that with where our economy is today, the reality is that there's a lot of unproductivity in many of our sectors. So when we think about demand data, we don't think about demand data in terms of the standard jobs only, in terms of saying, oh, where are the jobs that exist. We also think about demand in terms of opportunities, because a lot of the opportunities that would exist would come from entrepreneurship, would come from us supporting entrepreneurs to be able to understand where the opportunities are that they're not seeing today. We often refer to, when it comes to, the continent, it's often referred to, there's a lot of darkness in terms of it being a dark continent, but that's usually just because of visibility and access to data. We think that there's an opportunity for us to be able to do the work required to build the systems that ensures that potentially in terms of what an output would be, as an entrepreneur, as someone who's, either training the young people or even the individual themselves, we want it to be a situation whereby an individual is coming to a program, and as part of the onboarding process, I do my assessment that helps me to understand my strengths and weaknesses, but I also get a sense of the opportunities that exist, right? What are the opportunities that exist across different parts of the world? In terms of the opportunities that exist today, there's no reason for me not to take advantage of opportunities that exist today while also building my skills to be able to take advantage of opportunities that are going to be unlocked in the future, right? If I have more entrepreneurial tendencies, I should also be able to get access to some of this data. And we think it's going to be a long road for us to be able to get there. But we think that with a demand intelligence system, there's a digital public good that the ecosystem can access, then the probability of us solving that problem at the roots is going to be significantly higher. Hope I answered that question, Jabo. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I've been smiling since anyway. Quickly. So for a chambers like the NBCC, what role do you think, as in, and I want this as succinct as possible, what role do you think, what would help look like from a chambers like us in making sure we get this done?
I think it's going to be extremely important for us to collaborate. One of the things that we rolled out last month as part of our partnership with the European Union is what we call the 3MTT Partner Network. And within that, we have a segment for employer and opportunity providers and also in an innovation and enterprise tier as well. We would like to collaborate with NBCC because that then means that we can get access to data from, across borders. I think that one of the biggest opportunities that is missed as a continent today is the ability for us to be able to leverage our diaspora. It's often because the narrative is often not shaped in the right way. There's a lot of the narrative that we spew out there, and this is something that Ashley and I talk about a lot. There's often a negative narrative that's promoted, right? And that then affects even our diaspora to be able to figure out how they can support. It's
All right.
better and it's going to most likely more effective for someone in the diaspora to sell to the local businesses. Like it's going to be harder for Ashley to go sell in Poland, right? Than versus someone who's a Nigerian in Poland who's probably working in big tech or working in a corporation in Poland who understands the local landscape and who can connect these opportunities. We need to be able to ensure that we switch the narrative, but also create a clear bridge. And for us, from a bridge standpoint, that's why we're creating this net partner network. We would like to have the chambers join, and I would also like to see how we can potentially continue to build out this network that allows more people to be able to come in. The bridges that we're describing, we have to actually build them, even if they are virtual to begin with. Thank you.
Right. And we're very happy to do that. So, for instance, someone like Tomi, because again, she's there, she's building something that easily can connect. We're an enabler, and we're very happy to actually facilitate this. Let me come to you, Tomi. I have 10 more minutes, and before we go to question and answer. Tomi, so again, what are the things you feel that will work in our favor as a nation, as a talent destination? So I understand that we think that, oh, yes, we're very energetic people, we're bright people, we're strong people. These are strengths for us. But as much as possible as a nation, we also need to sell our strengths. I think time works in our favor and the likes. But from your point of view, sitting on that other side, but also having your roots in Nigeria, would you like to share more so that, again, businesses on this conversation can start thinking on how to push their narrative within that area?
Okay, thanks for that. Great question. So we just actually started a project with the UK government, and the title of the project is Tech Jobs to Tech Local. So it's like having, and I'm saying this because it's something that could be mirrored, and it's just basically having the people, and the thing for the UK was don't talk about training. There is a different project on training. This is how to get the people that have been trained working with the local SMEs. And then so with that, they then kind of like brought about different sort of programs for us to be able to do. Now, to your question that how does Nigeria talent and what do we need to do to showcase ourselves? What Francis was saying about building like an intelligence demand system, that would show you the demand. But then how do we assess and have a standardized assessment across the talents that are coming on? So for instance, for every single person, we've created something that's like a work passport. What that does is that tells you someone's cognitive and emotional aspect, and also how they like to work in terms of their work style. What that does is that it now allows someone sitting across the other side of the pond that wants to hire someone, see how this person can connect with the organization easily because they now understand what the person's work style is. That is one way that we could start bringing things. Now, people understand that it's not the lack of what's it called, resilience. We are very, very known for that. But the human skills that I mentioned earlier is like, how does this person operate? Because people only hire reliable people. If I understand that you can't be reliable, it becomes very, very difficult. These are things that we could measure doing like scenario-based and situational judgment assessment on people before. And with that, we then have like a good landscape and a good passport to say this person, yes, they're good at this skill, their cognitive ability is this is how they work within a workplace. This is how they, and with that, because they're connecting them both to local and to global jobs. And that's how I'm seeing this working in my brain. And I think it's a collaborative effort. It's going to take the people that are training, the people that are finding, the people that are assessing, and the government in itself to plug that together to be able to make this a success. But it's a major opportunity that I don't think we should take for granted. I think this could be like a major, major game-changing era for Africa.
Lovely. Professor Tess, so again, there are things that are working in our favor, which is around we're building infrastructure where we have the young talent is strong and we're building on it. But I want you to speak to two major things. One, culture on the side of Europe, and also language. Is this a barrier, or can this be something that we can navigate so that easily we can really harness the opportunity having Nigeria as a talent destination?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and I was thinking when Tommy was talking about skills and about reliability, I would actually want to flag that I find the EU highly unreliable in the sense that EU member states are individually responsible for giving a visa or a work permit or a traineeship permit or a student visa. There is EU policy setting the basic standards, but it is the member states that decide in an individual case. And what we know from projects in collaborating on skills development and facilitating skills mobility into Europe is that often either the candidates or the companies drop out of these projects because it takes ages for the European authorities to actually grant the relevant visa. So, talking about being reliable, I think one thing first comes that if we agree that we collaborate on this, then EU and member state institutions need to agree that they will be quick in giving visa to allow for the mobility that comes with these partnerships. That is one. But it is not just about institutions, it is also about entrepreneurs at the receiving end. So if you want to collaborate with entrepreneurs across the EU, there is, and this was one of the questions that was posed in the chat also. Once somebody hears that a candidate is from Nigeria, then they're like, oh no, never mind, thank you. Now we've seen with a talent partnership called Digital Nomads, where people from Africa went to the Baltic states in the EU, which is an area not used to having many multicultural workplace experience. What happened is that it is not actually the workers that stayed there, but it opened up the eyes of the entrepreneurs out there in Europe that Nigeria and neighboring countries are actually quite interesting to set up a business. So they offshored activities. That is one way that these collaborations can move forward. But I have to be honest that speaking for the Netherlands, I can fully understand, or I don't understand, but I know that it's happening, that labor market discrimination, for instance, stands in the way of collaboration. And as Ashley said, Europe has to face it, the demography is that we're getting old and there's nobody there to do the work and pay for our pensions. And if you look at countries like Nigeria, but also Egypt, Bangladesh, then there's people out there willing to come and work, able to come and work, who can be reliable. It's a question of soft skills, training, etc. But there needs to also be the preparedness at the receiving end to collaborate. And I think good examples, because that was the question, how can we improve this? We need strong and good examples to show that this can be successful. Like the business that Ashley is setting up, if that would be a collaboration with a Dutch company, and then they show that there's 5 or 10 people who do marvelous work, then maybe the neighbors are like, maybe we should also start recruiting in Nigeria, and then you get it going. But right now, there is still a lot of like, Nigeria, really? Um, um, there's some advocacy to do there to show European companies that collaborating with Nigeria is one of the good ways forward.
Thank you very much. So, Francis, you have your work cut out for you. As much as we're doing the training, I think really taking the talents and communicating deliberately to these countries increase our chances of getting more equipment from our side. Actually, lastly, now we need to make it very punchy, very fast. In your own experience, what is the single most important element of semicolon model that turns your scholars into high-value professionals?
Interesting. So I'm going to put that in two parts, but I'll be fast. I think in terms of the actual building of people, and this sort of links to what Tommy and others have spoken to. Nobody ever really signs up for a program because they want character development and mindset shift. But at the end of the day, that's actually a lot of the work that happens. So I think that really holistic, looking at holistic set of skills, not a very narrow set of specific technical skills. And it's often, those broader soft skills around character, leadership, self-awareness, etc., that has to happen. So that's in terms of the type of delivery. I think, though, one of the kind of key, maybe innovations and enablers that we've introduced, and I think is really critical to look at, is financing. So why do we have such a tremendous talent gap if we know so many people are eager to access opportunities? It's because high quality education and building people takes money and it takes time. And a lot of people have the interest and they're ready to work hard and they just do not have the access to capital. And so what we did for our own training program so that we could maintain very high quality standards is we can't cut costs, but we want low income people to access it. We said we'll use a student loan model. We'll do study now, pay later. If you train people well, which is on us, once they start working as software engineers, they can afford to pay back. And it's been difficult and it's been risky. We started with our own money, but it has worked. People do earn enough. Their earnings go up significantly and they continue to receive promotions and increments. They do generally pay back.
Lovely.
Even the ones that we didn't, even in our pilot cohorts, when we didn't put a lot of formal structure around it, they paid back. So I think we still continue to do a lot of work to build really on those financing models, because I think that's what we actually also need to scale is those enabling financial instruments. It's doable, it's just challenging because in a market like Nigeria, interest rates are high, so you can't really, they're not aligned to what's feasible for student loans. It's a kind of a new instrument. Our credit information systems are still strengthening and so forth. So it doesn't automatically fit into a product that a bank, for example, can introduce on their own. But if we bring in different partners and different sources of capital, it is absolutely feasible. And we have learned that through our own work.
Awesome. Thank you. Francis, lastly, I know the European Union just signed an agreement with the Nigerian government, with the federal ministry. For benefit of people on the call that want to be like Ashley, who are training, and what kind of support do you guys offer? Or is there something in the pipeline that can democratize training institutions while you set the framework around how they operate and what benefits? Please, in 1 minute. Thank you.
I think we're thinking about this in different ways. I think to Ashley's point, the financing systems need to be designed on the private sector side, the private sector potentially needs to collaborate to be able to continue to engage different financing institutions, and we're happy to continue to support that effort. On the government side, as you can imagine, the government would typically, want to support free programs where possible from an access standpoint. But we are very conscious of the sustainability element, and some of the work that we're doing is to be able to improve that. Specifically to the point around our organizations can take advantage. This is one of the things that we're very aware of. The reality is that, especially to hit our 3 million goal, it's going to be extremely expensive. One of the things that we're working on currently is to create a system whereby there are many non-financial ways in which we can support organizations like Ashley to be able to continue to support their work. It's part of what we've announced as part of our delivery network, and that's one of the things that we're going to be able to do to support them by getting access to potentially things that can help them generate more revenue, but also get them access to things that they might not be able to get individually as private institutions, especially folks who are potentially not as big as Semicolon and exist in different regions of the country. So I would say that whoever is interested can please reach out directly to us. This is something that we're going to be rolling out this quarter in terms of supporting more organizations to be able to continue to do the work that they do, and down the line also increasing the access to finance and other resources that are required for them to be able to continue to support the upskilling initiatives as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, my lovely panel. Lastly, if you could do one thing to increase the number of talents and portable digital in the next 2 years, what would that be? Let me start with you, Tommy.
If I feel like if Nigeria wants to basically dominate the global talent market, then we need to stop thinking in silos. It's not about producing more designers or developers, but it's about producing AI-enabled, globally fluent professionals who can deliver value anywhere in the world.
Thank you. Professor Tess?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I think what I said last, obviously, we need good examples to show that Nigeria, for one, has something to offer that in Europe businesses can use, and that collaboration is better for all of us, better to build bridges than to build walls, right? I think that is the key right now, what Europe should be considering.
Awesome. Ashley?
Thank you. I agree with both of those prior suggestions, and I will add maybe the capital piece. So really innovation around enabling financial instruments for the space.
Francis, you don't need anything. You are government.
I would say that this is more personal. My personal bet is that, especially as Tommy has mentioned, as we go into an AI-led world, we're going to see significantly more decentralization. We have, a nation of 240 million people today. We're adding 150 million people over the next 25 years. We must figure out how to skill them at scale. And for us to skill them at scale, we must be able to provide them with the infrastructure, provide them with the standards, provide them with the guidelines, and provide them with the support that supports a decentralized approach. Because the things are just going to move so fast that if we focus only on the centralized systems, we are likely not going to be able to deliver the output required at scale. We must understand that the challenge not only exists in Nigeria at scale, the challenge exists across the continent at scale, and Nigeria has the unique opportunity to be able to provide models that also help other countries to be able to figure out these problems, because we're all facing these problems over the next couple of years. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Let me quickly run through questions. I have a recurring question, actually. Is directed. Okay, good day, Prof. Okay, I think probably Tommy can advise on this. Despite my experience in cybersecurity public awareness campaign and reaching final stages of remote job, I faced rejection after disclosing my location in Nigeria. How can African professionals overcome these trust and perception barriers? And how can global institutions ensure talent is judged by competence rather than geography? Who wants to take this? Tommy, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I'm very happy to address this. I think it's some of the things that we've spoken about today. I think it really depends on where you are also applying. You don't apply for one job or 10 jobs and you have to be persistent. But then it's also about presentation. It's also about how you are putting yourself out there and the places that you're putting yourself out there. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of making everyone, like people in the UK, people in Europe, understanding that, oh yeah, Nigeria is a place to hire and this is what you're going to be getting. What they're getting at the moment is, yeah, they are very good technically, but then they're not people that I could put on front end. They're not people that I could allow to talk to my customers. They're not people that I could allow. So as soon as we start changing those sort of conversation, and this is where the soft skill really happens, you will start seeing that, people like Cyber Shield, no, sorry, Awele, who has studied cybersecurity, will start getting a whole lot more opportunities. But look both local and global. Don't just look global alone.
Awesome. Thank you. Next from Mohammed. Mr. Francis, does Project Bridge have inbuilt training internship slot for graduate trainees of three entities and other digital skills action program ongoing in Nigeria?
No, thanks for the question. Project Bridge, to execute the deployment of 90,000 kilometers of fiber, as you can imagine, is going to create significant amount of jobs. So as part of that project, there is financing available to support training organizations with that specialized capacity to be able to train people to get the work done. So there's a training element, but in this case, it's not just about being trained. You're being trained for something that you're actually going to go do the work for. So that's a clear opportunity. So if the person asking the question has technical capacities or interest in being a part of that value chain, that's something that is going to be in play. I think in addition to that as well, it also means that we're going to just create this ecosystem where more people have these capacities, not just for deployments in Nigeria, but potentially also across the region. The other thing I would say is the Project Breeze specifically is going to be an entity, is going to be an SPV that is set up as an independent institution, similar to NLNG of some sorts. So when that entity is set up, potentially there will also be significant opportunities for employment as well. So whoever asks the question, and keep tabs on the ministry's website and also on the minister's social media. Most things usually go out publicly via those channels. Thank you.
Lovely. This is for Tommy and Ashley. How can we trainees be aware of various partners to assist with securing the local or global remote opportunities? I think Ashley can take this. Then from what has been said, there's a need for continuous system training, retraining, and connecting to available opportunities. How can this be achieved? Tommy can take that briefly.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So I think in terms of identifying opportunities, one, good training programs will at least try to provide a bit of support. They don't always provide placement depending on their scope, but usually help people understand the job market if it's a job related training. So typically they'll signpost it. I mean, we at Semicolon, we manage a talent pool. We have a platform for this, for really with a focus on tech talent for at least for now. There are various other platforms as well. So I think I think once you kind of advise young people to, do a bit of research online, ask around, but once you've connected into a few communities, and gotten a sense what's happening in the ecosystem, you can sort of find who are credible partners and platforms to align to. And yes, definitely continuous upskilling is a must. So learning how to learn is actually one of the key skills, which has been mentioned today, that we all have to have as well.
Thank you. Toby?
So on the other side, I'll be personal on this. So we are launching something in the middle of next month that basically allows you to and we're launching in Nigeria and in the UK, that basically allows you, if you've been trained, to be able to come in there and assess what tier we think you are. So this is us now trying to say, okay, you have this knowledge, you've been trained, you understand this. What is your work style? What is your skill availability? What exactly, how would you work within the workplace and where do we place you? We would then be able to use that to match you with, like, international and also local jobs that are available. And this is where you could start getting those sort of, and this is where the continuation can start to happen from. Yeah, you have people like Semicolon that have trained you and other people within the 3MTT that have also trained you. But how do you then turn that into having work right now? It's all about the matching. And understanding the matching means that we understand demand on one side, and this is both local and global demand. But for us, UK is kind of like first, and then we start to see how that goes to the rest of the world.
Fantastic. Okay. Tommy, how can we reach you? Tommy is on LinkedIn. You can search for her name, Tommy Edwards, and she will be very happy to answer. Lastly, this for Prof. How can these global opportunities be assessed without falling short of the laws which differs from region to region? To be honest, I think some of these things are research-based. But again, opportunity are spread across, laws are different. Definitely, you are right, without falling victim of different issues. But I think it's also very good just starting from advertisement from each location. So if there are job openings from each point, apply for it, and definitely the advertisers are able to advise on the best way to go around it. We're having serious issues with our training that is called for. You can always reach out to Mr. Sonny privately. That's all for questions. Thank you very much. Really appreciate this wonderful, wonderful session. I think I really want to personally thank you, Professor Tess LJ, Tommy, Francis, Ashley. Really love the energy, insights you brought. And also want to thank member of the HQ for making sure this happened today. We want to have pictures. So COVID did something very well. We can have this event virtually and still have good memories about it. We want to have pictures. So HQ, do you want to help us handle that? Thank you. HQ. Femi, do you want to guide us when we should smile, when we should frown, so that we can...
Okay, just a moment, please.
Actually, we caught you.
Okay, thank you.
They're gonna snap me at the moment I drink water. Let me quickly put it back down.
Femi, are you done? Are we done?
Yes. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. I would like to call, is Mr. George on the call? Mr. George Okoli-Spieth?
Yes.
Mr. George is a wonderful member, very strong member of the committee. We'd like you to give the vote of thanks on our behalf. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Oluwajoba. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll keep this short, but it's important we don't rush past what has just happened here. On behalf of the technical committee of the Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce, I want to sincerely thank every person who made this session meaningful. To our speakers and panelists, thank you. Not just for speaking, but for bringing clarity to a conversation that is often talked about, but not always well understood. Today, you didn't just highlight opportunities, you made it clear that Nigerians' talent story is not a future possibility. It is already happening. What we need now is structure, skill, and intentional collaboration. To our moderator, Mr. Oluwajoba, thank you for keeping the conversation sharp, focused, and engaging. To everyone who joined us from Nigeria, the UK, and across different parts of the world, your presence matters because this conversation only works if it is global, connected, and action-driven. And to the leadership of the Chamber, from our president, Prince Oluwashore, our DG, and all the members of staff, we thank you for consistently creating platforms like this, not just to talk, but to connect real opportunities between markets. Let me say this clearly. Nigeria does not have a talent problem. We have a positioning opportunity. The world is searching for skills, and Nigeria is rich in them. The real question is, how do we organize, enable, and present that talent in a way that the world cannot ignore? That's where conversations like this become powerful, but only if we act on them. So as we close, I want to leave us with a simple thought. Let this not end as a webinar. Let it become a walking bridge, one that connects Nigerian talent to global demand in a way that creates value for everyone involved. To the entire technical committee and organizing team, thank you for the work behind the scenes. Excellence like this doesn't happen by accident. And to everyone here, thank you for your time, your attention, and more importantly, your commitment to shaping what comes next. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, everyone. We'll reach out. And please feel free to, anyone you want to reach out to, LinkedIn is your friend, or you can use any of the LLMs to get more details about them. Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you.